Hello, mysterious person behind the screen, and welcome back to another audio commentary with me and Isaac.
Hey, McFly.
And today we are finishing the Back to the Future trilogy with Back to the Future Part 3. So, without further ado,
You'd like to sync this up with the Blu-ray copy of Back to the Future Part 3? Put the film to the start and press play in 3, 2, 1, go.
definitely the film that I would say, least familiar with of the trilogy. However, it gets better as I've gotten older.
Well, for me, I mean, I saw all three when I was 16, and I think I just preferred this one over Part 2 because it just felt more comforting. And
Yeah,
also, I'd say out of the three, it feels the most like a summer blockbuster, mainly because of the Wild West setting. Because if you look at the other two, they're all set in like autumn or November
mm,
time, and this is even though it's specifically set in September, it's just a lot more brighter. It's just a lot more sunny. You can just
very
imagine
true.
watching this on like a hot summer's day with a glass of lemonade.
Oh yeah, very true. And it's also obviously it feels it's the most complete of the three as well, in terms
Mm,
of like it being a completed film and it rounds everything off. Well, most complete of the sequels because I'd argue the first one pretty much works as a standalone film. But
hmm
yeah, this definitely of the two sequels, this is the one that's most like a film, I guess.
Yeah. The second film, it's very fast and moves at a lightning pace, which means it's hard for you to get bored. But
Mm.
I'd say here it just feels more comforting because aside from this recap of the first film, I'd say the opening sequence, sets the tone perfectly because it's literally Marty taking a fainted Doc back home. It literally opens with them sleeping and
Yeah.
like comforting music is on in the background. It just sets the tone for the film perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely sets the because it's the one that focuses on the most, their relationship as a pair,
Hmm
and it's the one that really delves deep into their characters in a way that the other two don't. So yeah, I agree. I think it's and again, it just works perfectly as that, as a trilogy capper.
hmm
Doing that, focusing on those two and what makes them tick as a pairing. It's just the
Yeah,
perfect
I
way of
felt
doing
that
things.
with this film, Zemeckis and Gale don't feel as restrained by part three as they did with part two, because the only thing
I
that
agree.
part two sets up for this film is that Doc is trapped in the Old West. So, okay,
Mm.
why not? Let's just go back to the Old West and we can do whatever story we want. Because with
Yeah,
part
and of
two, it's
course,
just like Jennifer's in the
yeah.
DeLorean. It's all about going to the future. It's about saving Marty's kids. Whereas here, it's just
Mm.
like the freedom is more there. They're less strained by what they unintentionally set up.
100%. Yeah, and it's interesting as well that um the old west setting was initially planned to be in part 2.
Mm.
And they realized that actually this script is just getting way too overstuffed and way too mental, and now we have part 3, and it works as one big complete package and story, and it's yeah, it's brilliant.
hmm And Marty must be strong if he's able to carry Doc over his shoulder like that.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I think out of the three, it is kind of seen as the black sheep because I think it's less to do with time travel and things like that.
Mm. And I think it's I mean, I spoke about this last time, but I think it's, in the general pop culture zeitgeist, I'd say this is the least iconic one. um
Hmm
you know not not knocking anything against it there, but I just think it's, yeah, of the three, it's the one that I think is referenced the least in pop culture and stuff. So
Yeah, 'cause I remember the Honest trailers when they did the Back to the Future trilogy, they just referred to this as, and then there's the third one.
Yeah, yeah,
It's such a great contrast to Part Two. Part Two is a flying DeLorean in the future of 2015. This is a
mm.
wake up in 1955.
Yeah, and
It's just so comforting to watch.
it sort of mirrors the opening shot of the first film as well, with the slow pan across the room and everything,
Hmm.
sort of bringing things full circle.
Yeah, I felt when we see Seamus McFly, the original plan was to get Crispin Glover to play him, but that fell through.
Mm.
And I felt that would have really brought the trilogy full circle because in the first film, Marty's, giving advice to George, and in this film, Seamus gives, advice to Marty to become a better person. I just felt it
Yeah,
would have been more perfect if it was Crispin Glover playing that
that's
role. Though,
true. Yeah.
I mean, I'd have loved to have seen him attempt an Irish accent.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, I mean, Michael J. Fox has a damn good go.
Yep.
Christopher Lloyd's so good. It's just
Yeah.
watching him go on this massive rant.
May have said before, but I think for the TV movie, he was for when the Americans tried to revive Doctor Who in the 90s, his name was being thrown around, Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have been quite
Either as the
something.
Doctor or I mean, for the TV movie, they insisted that the Master be played by an American actor. Apparently, I think Christopher
Yeah.
Lloyd's name was considered.
Okay. That would have been interesting.
Hmm.
Would have been a very different, tonally, it would have been very different, I think, from how Everett Roberts eventually played it.
I always dress for the occasion.
Yeah. It's interesting. I always admire what this trilogy does. We're playing with a lot of very complex and different time periods here, but you never feel lost with it. It's very
Mhm.
clear to follow as a general audience. You never ever once feel like it's too much or it's becoming too convoluted. It works perfectly, and
Exactly, yeah, because
yeah.
time travel stories can be hard to follow
Mm.
and too clever for their own good, but this one does it perfectly.
And it's definitely you feel it slowing down. You feel like we've slowed down now since part two, and we're just kind of catching our breath because, like we spoke about, um, yeah, part two is high on caffeine. It
Yeah,
never slows down.
yeah, because part two it starts with like we've got to go to the future and save your kid's future, but then it all changes
Mm,
into alternate timelines. Biff using the almanac to make himself rich. It is
yeah,
full of twists and turns and surprises, whereas this one it establishes what the conflict is early. Doc Brown is going to get shot in 1885, so Marty goes back in time
yeah,
to save him, and that's kind of it.
yeah. Basically, it's much more kind of streamlined and simple,
Hmm.
and it works. It work, and I don't think that's a knock against part two. I think this wouldn't work as well as it does without part two, really,
Hmm.
because you kind of need that breakneck pace to feel the break, to feel the slow down here, and to feel that it matters to our characters.
Hmm. Could have ended up in 2020, Doc. That's even worse.
Yeah, I was about to say it could have ended up in 2020. I love that cut as well. We may have to blast. That's so good.
I mean, the critics' reaction to this, particularly Siskel and Ebert, they felt very much like it was more Roger Ebert. It was like, yeah, we're 3 films in, the formula's getting tired now, so I think they're wise to end it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Siskel and Ebert are always interesting because they're very. Yeah, I don't. I disagree with a lot of what they say.
Hmm.
However, obviously their influence can't be denied and everything. Um, but yeah, I find them fascinating to listen to.
I do as well. Yeah. I mean, if they were around today and Gene Siskel said what he said about Mask of the Phantasm, obviously he said he loved the film, but he said I don't like the Joker's voice.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
He'd have
that would
been
be.
crucified.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah, this feels quite Indiana Jones now.
yeah. It really does.
Hmm. Out of all the out of all the films, this is the one that focuses on Doc Brown the most because they felt in part one and
Mm.
two they had done the most that they could with Marty and his family.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it was long overdue to give him some development because he doesn't really, everyone loves him, but he doesn't have much to him as a character in the first two. He's just mad
Hmm.
scientist. So I
Yeah,
think it was the very much the right decision to do that.
yeah. Here it's him about, settling down with someone,
Mm,
because because Doc Brown is always on his feet. He's always trying to invent something,
yeah.
and here he's, and aside from Marty and Jennifer, he doesn't seem to have much friends.
No, that's it. He doesn't. We said in the commentary of the first one, they never try and dwell on the optics of their relationship, and
Hmm.
how they came to meet and stuff. And I think that's very much the wise choice. I feel like obviously they won't, but if they were to reboot it today, I feel like they'd feel obligated to explain that or to have a scene where they meet or something. Um,
Mm, yeah, true.
that's a great reveal as well. The Emmett Brown
Yeah.
Brigade.
Hmm.
Again, it's quite. Marty, please don't stand there.
And one criticism I hear about this is that obviously the 1955 Doc knows what's going to happen to him, so
Yeah,
can he prevent it?
yeah. Again, it's you think too much about it, it'll break. It's like with any time travel story, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's if you think that hard about it, you won't enjoy any time travel thing.
Yeah, true.
Just use Doctor Who logic. Say he doesn't remember or something when he leaves.
hmm I mean, then again, in the first film, Doc says you can't know too much about your own future.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Again, they do such a good job with the makeup. Like
hmm
that photo looks genuine. That he looks like he could be an ancestor of Michael J. Fox.
hmm
Obviously, it is just him in makeup, but it looks so authentic. And
Ah, yeah. If you go see the musical, you can get a photo of that clock.
oh, nice. Oh, that's wicked.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to have, but yeah, I just realised it doesn't technically appear like that in the first film. It's only in this
No, it
one.
doesn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And now Marty references Clint Eastwood. Apparently, they had to get special permission off him to use his
Oh,
name
really?
and reference him. Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised about that.
hmm
I'm also surprised he let him do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
The photography in this looks absolutely stunning, though. Um,
It does,
just yeah,
yeah. Again, it's just a bright summer movie, which
yeah,
is weird
100%.
because where we are now is supposed to be November. That's the sunniest
Yeah,
November I've ever seen.
yeah. I love this look for the DeLorean as well with the 50s tires. It's
Oh
very
yeah.
striking.
hmm Love that line because he literally does crash into Indians.
I know, yeah. It's such a fun little setup because you
hmm
know something's gonna happen, but yeah, I love the music here as well. It's so good. I mean, the music's great throughout the whole trilogy, but I think this is.
It really is, yeah.
So this is the only one of the three I haven't seen in the cinema either. Because when they
Ah,
did
okay.
Future Day in 2015, they only did the first two back to back in the cinema. So I would like to see this one in the cinema one day just to complete that.
Yeah, that's a shame because with like the first film, you can celebrate its anniversary. The second
mm,
film, obviously, you could have seen it in 2015 to say, we're officially in the future.
yeah,
Part three, you can't really, which is a bit of a shame.
I love the again talking about the score. the cowboy western twist that Alan Silvestri puts
Hmm.
on the music. Like, I love the version of the theme that's in this. It's brilliant. It's so
Definitely, yeah, it's
good.
brilliant.
It helps give this film like its own identity aside from just the visuals as well. It just really helps it stand out.
I miss the 80s where you could say shit so many times and still get a
I
PG
know.
rating.
It's mental. It's so mad.
I remember having E.T. on VHS. That was AU, and they were
Yeah.
still saying shit all the time. Nothing but health shit.
Yeah, I think the DVD I had was a U or a PG. The DVD I had the special edition in as well, which removed some of that stuff.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
because it removed the "You're not going as a terrorist" line and replaced it with "You're not going as a hippie." Um,
Yeah, I mean, the 20th
so
anniversary for that was like pretty soon after 9/11, so I can see why.
that was the reason why. Yeah, I do think
Hmm.
I mean, I'm glad with the special edition for that. I'm glad that Spielberg realised his mistake. However, I do kind of wish that it was still included on modern releases of it, because it's kind of still a part of the history of that film that did happen and everything.
Yeah, I like to think he had a few too many drinks with George
Yeah,
Lucas and was like, you could special edition your film as well.
yeah, I think yeah. I'm glad that the original has become the default release as it should.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do. Part of me does kind of wish that the 20th anniversary one would be re-released just as a little bonus feature, if nothing else.
Hmm.
God, that shot panning up there is so
Yeah,
seamless. I
it
don't know
is.
how it's
Yeah,
done.
like this is probably the best use of split screen, I'd say, in the entire trilogy.
Yeah, I agree. But it's so funny though, because that shot is something that I could see happening nowadays, and sort of
Hmm.
being able to see the join, if that makes sense. Like, I could
Yeah.
imagine that nowadays seeing like a dodgy green screen or something, but here it's just similar. Similar.
Hmm.
It's just seamless.
And the bear that was chasing him, I think when the bear stands up in the cave, I think it's clearly a costume.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that twist on the joke as well. You're my. Who are you?
Leah Thompson apparently does have Irish ancestry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Hmm.
she's probably the best at the accent, I would say.
Oh yeah.
But again, she looks very different to how she does in the other two. Like, it's obviously the same
Hmm.
actress, but she looks. It you can buy that this is a different person. Um, yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Hmm.
with the sequels would have been after Howard the Duck for Leah Thompson as well, wouldn't it? So
Oh yeah, she's in Howard the Duck. I forgot that.
yeah.
Wagga 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 wagga. That's the only thing I remember of that film. I'm just like, what?
Yeah. Well, she was in Howard the Duck. She has sex with Howard the Duck.
Oh shit! Yeah. Uh,
There's a great outtake
and
there
she's
when he
in.
brings the rabbit in. Sorry, I was just gonna say when he brings the rabbit in, the outtakes he just brings in a giant plush of Bugs Bunny.
I was gonna say Leah Thompson is also in Jaws 3, where she
Is
doesn't get
she? Oh
eaten,
my
but she
god!
gets bitten by one of the by the shark.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I know she directs a lot of like sitcom stuff these days. She's often directing like episodes of The Goldbergs or something. Um,
Hmm. That looks so seamless there.
yeah, it really does. It's insane.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Apart
spoke about
from
it.
that bit there where she walks past the camera, but it looks really out of focus.
Yeah, it's like it's composited in, isn't it? It's blue screen. Um,
That's it, yeah.
yeah, which is funny. It's often like that stuff's often done to disguise. Like there's a I noticed it recently, and I can't unnotice it. It's in Spider-Man 2, in the establishing shot of the hospital, when it kind of pulls back and you see the tentacles strapped up. There's a doctor that walks in front of the camera, and it's done to hide a cut. Except if you notice it, the doctor is like walking in the air, like he's massive, because it's like a shot coming up. And it's like one of those things where it's like, oh wow, I can't unsee that doctor is massive.
This is the only time in the entire trilogy where Doc Brown has any interaction with the Biff Tannen family.
Ah, interesting. That's
The
funny when you
closest we
think
got in
about it.
part two,
Yeah,
and the closest we got in part two is when he saves Marty from his casino and he gets bashed in the head with the door.
yeah. It's funny to think about, given how like central that conflict is in this film, the Doc
Hmm.
versus Biff stuff.
Again, this is great. It's taking the establishing shot of Marty walking into the town in a different time period, and you can like start to piece together where things will be, like the clock
100%.
tower
Yeah,
there, the town
it's a
hall.
brilliant reveal shot when it goes up over the building.
Hmm.
His trainers are remarkably clean after stepping in that massive pile of horseshit.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good reference as well. Wells Fargo and Co.
Ah, yeah.
Referencing Tale of Wells Fargo. Um,
Nice.
that's very cool. There's a lot of cool references in there. I mean, the guys in the bar here are famous actors who were in a lot of westerns, weren't they?
They
Like
were,
Pat
yeah.
Buttram and stuff. So yeah, it's cool. It's very much a movie western. I think Siskel and Ebert pointed that out as well. It's a movie version of the old west. Um,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I feel like that's half the fun. Like I feel like it wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What's the
Hmm.
point of like a time travel film where you go back to the old west if you're not going to embellish it a bit? Otherwise, it'd just be a bit dull.
I mean, yeah, if you wanted a realistic version of the Old West, you'd take note of that Horrible Histories Cowboys song. We never held
Yeah,
up banks, we never got into fights.
yeah,
Cowboys were around for what, 20 years? Like, again, it'd just be very dull.
exactly.
And in every film, Marty asks for a drink and is obviously out of his time.
Yeah,
In the first film, he's like, give me a tab. Can't give you a tab unless you order something. All right, give me a Pepsi free. You want a Pepsi, you pay for it.
yeah,
And in the second film, they give him way too many options when he's in 2015. Here he just asks for water, and obviously, yeah, no running water in those times because it would all be
yeah.
filthy. Is this the only one where Billy Zane doesn't play one of his cronies?
I was about to say, I think, because I don't think the other guys are in the first couple either.
Yeah,
They're all different actors. It's weird that you kind of think that they'd. Then again, it's yeah. It's obviously it'd be a bit ridiculous to think that every generation had. Do you know what I mean? Like every generation of
yeah,
Biff had his cronies that then passed. That their sole
yeah,
intention as a family was to hang around the Tannins. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That barman's really good. Like, no, sir, Mister Tannen, I have not. Like, he's memorable.
Literally doing the moonwalk.
Yeah,
In every film, Biff Tannen gets covered in shit. Did they just hate Tom Wilson or something?
yeah.
It's like making him suffer.
It's funny as well because we're pointing out a lot of like, oh yeah, the tradition in every film. This happens and this
It is,
happens,
yeah.
but it's quite fun that these films kind of don't. They get a pass because it's done so well and it's intentional. Whereas like, everyone always criticizes Home Alone 2, um, for being pretty much a carbon copy of the first one.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like in the Indiana Jones trilogy, they literally made the same film three times, and
Oh yeah,
yeah. And if you look at again Siskel and Ebert's comments on that, they say, "Don't you feel like we're getting a bit tired of this now? You know, it's the third
yeah.
time in, and I think this is why Spielberg is wise to end it at this point."
And then we got two more.
Oh yeah, yeah. Michael J. Fox was very nearly hung here, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yes, because there's a load of rumors that it's like because of the oxygen being cut to his brain that it caused the Parkinson's disease. And I was like, I don't think that's the
Hmm.
case. I think that's bollocks. I think that's just people trying to make a salacious story out of it.
Yeah, I don't think it would have caused his Parkinson's, no.
No, I know that it's like people like to say it on the internet because it sounds, you know,
Yeah, he just got
interesting. But
unconscious at this point, and that was it,
yeah,
I think.
again though, still a PG and there's a hanging sequence in it.
Yep.
It's funny as well because we think of this trilogy is a quintessentially 80s trilogy, but actually this one came out in the 90s.
Oh, it did, yeah. Well, it's set in 1885, so
Yep.
that makes it. Yeah.
It's technically an 80s film if you by that metric.
hmm And I like how this naturally sets up the $80. The reason he gets shot. That's
Yes.
really cool. hmm
Yeah, it's brilliant.
hmm
And I love you coming soon. Coming up. We've got Doc's little workshop that he's made for
hmm
himself. It's really cool. It's a great little bit of production design. How evocative it is of what he ends up having in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love that. The whole I can never take the risk of having a relationship in this time period, and
Yeah,
then completely ignores that later.
it's a brilliant little bit of like dramatic irony.
hmm Because in this one, it's in the first two films, Doc was always the voice of reason, and here it's the other way around. It's Doc who's relying on his own emotions, and Marty being the voice of reason.
It's reversed, and it's reversed in a really interesting way.
hmm
Even down to them swapping catchphrases.
hmm Wait, Clara? And this is a time travel film? Is Jenna Coleman gonna pop up?
That's one of her splinters.
Yes. I mean, Jenna Coleman's played Queen Victoria, and obviously Doctor Who fans say that means Clara made Torchwood as well.
Yeah, that's the. To be honest, if you want to canonize it as that, then yeah, go for it.
hmm How complicated this all is just for him to make an iced tea.
I know, yeah. Again, I just love hanging out
But
in
there's a
this.
nice callback.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's a nice callback to the first one with the breakfast machine.
yeah, it's great.
hmm This montage of trying to get the DeLorean up to 88.
I know, yeah, it's great.
It's there's such a cool image of the horses pulling a DeLorean. Like it's the only thing you can
Yeah,
get in a time travel movie.
oh, yeah, it's a really cool visual. It's set against the sun as well. It
Mm.
looks great. It's so good.
There was a line cut from the script where Marty suggests apparently they get 130 horses to pull the DeLorean since it has a 130 power horse engine.
Oh, that would have been great. That's a great little line.
Yeah.
It's a shame that was cut. I think you can. I think you can tell that Robert Zemeckis is having um, just a bit more fun, uh,
Yeah, definitely.
like playing with the Western setting than he was the future.
Yeah. I get this train up to 88 miles per hour, but uh, they were about 50 years too early because in
Mm.
1934 the Flying Scotsman became the first steam train to go 100 miles per hour.
Well, hey, there you go. Just wait a couple of
Yeah.
years, and yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I won't have the Americans try and upstart us on British steam.
Yeah.
The change because obviously they save Clara from being from falling into the ravine because it gets known as
Yeah.
Clayton Ravine. But I think when they go back to the future, it's 1985. It's renamed to Eastwood Ravine.
Yeah, it's another lovely little kind of visual gag,
hmm
very much harkening back to the Twin Pines thing from the first film.
Yep.
So yeah, again, this trilogy just has this massive sense of fun and playfulness with the
hmm
viewer with stuff like that, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, Mary Steenburgen is great in this role.
She's brilliant. This is still the thing that I think of her most from. Um, because obviously she's an elf as well, and she's in another.
She was married to McDowell for a while.
She
I
was,
remember.
yeah. Yeah, she's great. She's brilliant in this. She's so kind of charming and just. I mean, I agree with what Oliver Harper says. She's got a smile that will make you weak at the knees. She's just so. Yeah, she's exactly the person that
Yeah.
you would believe that he could fall in love with at first sight with. It's, yeah.
Hmm.
I watched her last year in a this is a bit of a tangent, but I I watched it in an awful, awful Christmas film on Disney Plus called One Magic Christmas, and it came out in 1985, and I went and
Oh
watched it, and I
yeah.
was sort of thinking, oh, this be fun. I've not seen this before. Put a little twist into my Christmas viewing, and fucking hell, I was depressed afterwards. Christ, it's this mad. It is this. It's meant to be really uplifting, but the whole premise is that she's a struggling mother who can't buy a Christmas present for her kids, and she's just miserable the whole way through. And essentially, the kids bully her into liking Christmas, and that's how it ends. And I was just like, fucking hell. Oh, it's awful. But she was good in it, so.
True. I'm sure it wasn't. Sure you didn't put on Christmas with the
Well,
Cranks from Julie
so
Princess.
that was my thought, to be honest with you. But it's just like it just goes weird places. Like there's quite a violent bank robbery scene, and people die, and the kids are just like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, mum, people are dead, but just like Christmas for fuck's sake." And then yeah, it was an awful film. I love that bit where he's like, I should never have made that machine, and it's caused nothing but disaster, and yeah, it brings home the weight of all the consequences, I think, to this whole
It does, yeah.
adventure. But of course, this again brings it full circle to the model that Doc and Marty, well, Doc made in the first film.
Yeah.
So again, it's a
Hmm.
brilliant kind of full circle trilogy cap of thing that just works really, really well.
Exactly. The whole trilogy. I'd say even with the first film, that's very standalone. But even with the second and third film, it still feels complete.
Yeah, yeah, no, I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Whether you leave it at number one or carry on with two and three,
Mm,
it always feels complete to me.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's kind of a perfect trilogy to dip in and out of in that regard.
Hmm. I mentioned last time I'm still waiting for that batch of
Yeah,
130 cut where it's all edited in chronological order in terms of
yeah,
years. So I suppose the first scene you have is Marty driving the DeLorean into the Indians. And the last
yeah,
scene is, I think, Doc and Doc and Marty rescuing Jennifer from her future house. That's probably
yeah,
the last chronological scene.
yeah, and then zooming away. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. Uh, Doc being a silent president, and here it's the other way around. It's perfect.
Mm, yeah, 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 definitely. Again, the telescope is such a wonderful little kind of emotional
Definitely, yeah.
device to use within the story. It works brilliantly.
Long this is a worm you can't head.
Yeah.
hmm I mean, not the band what they're playing, but
Mm.
uh, what you hear at the dance later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Completely
it's an
earworm.
old timey, yeah.
hmm Yep.
It's an old timey version of the song at the end, isn't it? Double back.
Yeah. Watching them go to like a party in 1885 and not having to worry about the ramifications of the future, it's just a really
Mm.
cool thing to see, you know.
It's quite refreshing as well because yeah, they're just chilling out. Um yeah, and it's
I
very
know there's
rare
the
they
Back
get,
to the
yeah.
Future. I know there's the Back to the Future animated series, and I've figured if there was a, say, a TV series starring
Mm.
Doc and Marty, I'd reckon the tone and comforting feeling would be a lot like this film, I think.
Yeah, yeah. This is fun as well. Again, it's just nice seeing the Doc get get some peace and some happiness for one time of his life in his life.
Oh yeah, definite. Call back to the second film where he plays that arcade game, and those kids are like,
Mm.
"You mean you have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy."
Yeah, I love the guy's like dumbfounded expression. Where'd you want to shoot like that? 7-Eleven. I love that he's got a kid with him as well.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's just a fun. It's such a weird little thing that this version of Strickland has a child with him at all times.
Now, yeah, I like how Strickland never has hair. Here they're given the longest haircut possible.
I know, yeah. It's hilarious. But also, I think this is maybe Thomas F. Wilson's best performance as Biff, because he's genuinely quite scary, while still having the fun and the kind of nuttiness and the unhinged aspect that you'd expect, a Tannen to have.
Yeah, because I love how he's the dumbest of all the Tannens we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know what a forfeit is, and he can't even count to 10.
He literally is a mad dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how he's got his mouth open most of the time.
Yeah.
Like a drooling dog would.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it took me ages as a kid to get that reference as well. The far right. What was the meaning of that? It was right in front of him.
Yeah, that frisbee joke. It's a reference to the Frisbee Pie Company, which was founded in 1871.
Yes, yeah. But again, he's genuinely he is the dumbest, but he's genuinely freaky as well. Like when he comes up behind Doc and he's like really close.
Mm-hmm. I told you
yeah.
to watch your back. I mean, like his descendants, he steals the girl from the hero.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But apparently, yeah, Mary Steenburgen and Tom Wilson, they did lend their voices to their characters in the Back to the Future animated series.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently Christopher Lloyd hosted it when there was like Russian segments or something like that.
He did the live action segments, yeah.
Which is funny, if they got him for the live action, but they had Dan Castellaneta do the voice of Doc, I believe.
Yeah, it was odd. It's a weird little thing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that show. I've heard it's like a lot of like 90s cartoons based on films, but yeah, I've heard it's alright.
I mean, that seemed to be the big trend in the 90s, you know. Any popular film that came out gets a TV series.
And even unpopular films, because Godzilla 98 got an animated series for some reason. But there's Men in Black, there's The Mask, Beetlejuice,
The Little Mermaid, Aladdin.
Little Mermaid, yeah.
Even Timon and Pumbaa got their own TV show.
You could argue that Batman the Animated Series was a direct result of Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, I love that joke where he's like, we'll meet then. We can't do that, Rob, but Hey
Yeah,
there, boss. We're robbing this place.
yeah. Thursday.
It's funny how he
On Thursday.
mentions. It's funny how they mention, "Oh, we can't do that. We're doing the robbery." Then that's what they're arrested for at the end of the
Yeah.
film.
Robbing the Pine City stage.
hmm
I'll shoot you down like a duck. I like that. Like his aides are almost like carers for him. The way like they touch
Yeah.
his shoulder and they're like, "Hey, it's Dark Buford." Oh, this is great as well. The fact that like they all start sucking up to him as soon as he stands up to Buford. And I love the
Yeah.
gag in a minute. A bit later on when the guy's measuring him for his
The tomb.
for the tomb. Yeah,
I like the line at the end where Pat Buttram's character says, "Everyone from the Wild West will say Clint Eastwood is the biggest yellow belly in the West."
yeah, yeah. And then we nobody calls me yellow.
Yeah, this here, what Seamus is telling Marty, if like, felt if Crispin Glover was playing it, it would have been a great bringing the whole
it
trilogy full circle.
it definitely would have done, and it would have been like a thematic resolution to that arc. Okay, it's not meant to be the same character, but the same, the same actor telling that information. It would have been brilliant.
hmm And they mentioned that Seamus had a brother called Martin McFly
Yes,
who
yeah,
got into fights. So, and I don't know how I feel about that because the first film seems to imply that George and Lorraine may have named him after the Marty they met in high school, but now they seem
yeah.
to have named him after an ancestor that got shot.
It's yes, it's slightly. I mean, if you headcanon it, she says that's a nice name because it's one of her ancestors. There you go.
hmm
Not the intention, but fuck it.
Yeah.
And like to be honest, we're talking about Christopher Lloyd as the Doctor. I get very Doctor vibes from this bit when he's talking to Clara. Clara.
Yeah, what we'll have in the future, yeah.
Yeah, you just get like the wonder in his eyes and everything.
hmm
It's a beautiful shot as well with the moon above and everything. Um,
hmm
and then, well, in a minute we get to see Michael J. Fox moon the camera, but
Yeah.
This is funny as well. Him trying to be Clint Eastwood in the mirror and everything. Um,
Oh yeah.
also love that thing. Marty looks so uncomfortable when he gets up, but then you go over to Doc's bed and it's this grand, quite opulent double bed.
Oh yeah. Then again, they didn't probably expect Marty to be
Yeah.
coming.
It's funny as well. There's a recurring motif I'm noticing of shots of him walking like at foot level. And the first time we see it, he's stumbling about in his Nike trainers, tripping over himself, and then here he's kind of getting a bit confident and cocky, and he's suddenly walking perfectly. He's got that stride to him, so it's interesting how that is shot.
Yeah, because in the first film, Zemeckis and Gale thought that Marty was a bit too perfect, hence why they gave him this arc for
Yeah.
parts 2 and 3. Does that make Marty a Mary Sue?
What's the male version of that?
Marty Sue?
Yeah, a Barry Stew.
Was it Gary Stew?
Gary Stew, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a brilliant bit of drama that it sets up there with the fact that yes, my name's gone, but the date and the type that all remains. And when you kind of put that together in your head, it's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. How are they going to get out of this one? Because it seems like somebody has to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so good as well. That bit from it's set up so perfectly in part 2, where it's like that's exactly what gets you in that accident in the future, and you kind of forget that Marty doesn't know about that. So there's that beat there that's like, oh, that's so good. It's so well performed.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's we've got genuine tension between the two, properly. Um, yeah, it's a great character piece. This third one.
Exactly, yeah. It dials back on all the time travel and just focuses on the characters and why we love them so much.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Apparently, it's the only film out of the entire trilogy that didn't get any Oscar nominations.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's not, visual effects is not as much of it as part 2, and
hmm
that's the only thing I can kind of think of.
cool image of the DeLorean on a train track.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's unique.
no, I'm amazed it fits perfectly.
Yeah, it's that's a little bit of convenience, but fuck it, it works.
Yeah, who cares? Hmm.
This is really sad as well. This bit, you genuinely feel quite that when she has a go at him, it's really quite upsetting to watch because obviously this relationship has been so built up for them both. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you just want to.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's happened. I think the missed bit cleared by it just because me act.
Mm. Yeah. And it's kind of, you do see her that she regrets doing that, perhaps, because of her
Hmm.
reaction when she goes back inside and everything. But again, she plays it brilliantly because you can see it on her face as he's telling her the betrayal that she feels. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's really well played.
Definitely, yeah. Hmm.
And obviously, and it's different seeing this crazed scientist who's always got a plan, seeing him go and just get drunk at a
Hmm.
bar like in Superman 3. um yeah, seeing him
You start
just
flicking peanuts and saying, "What are you looking at?" Huh?
they're all shocked um when he asked for alcohol, like when he asked for
Hmm.
whiskey. They're all just shocked. You know what happened to you on the
He
4th of
truly is
July?
like, he truly is like the Doctor, because in the
Yeah,
Gunfighters he says, "Oh, I never touch alcohol." Hmm.
but a glass of milk and I should only be delighted. Woo-hoo. God, this fucker. If I walked in to a pub all depressed
Hmm.
over a woman And he came up to me and goes, "I've seen that look on a man's face," I would just be like, "Oh, you know what? Appreciate the sentiment, but please fuck off." He would just be the most annoying little shit in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the longest of the trilogy, or am I making that up? I think it is, isn't
I
it?
think it is the longest, yeah. It
Yeah.
just surpasses the first film, like literally by a couple of minutes.
I was
But
gonna say, yeah,
yeah,
it's not.
it is the longest of the three. Hmm.
I'm hungry. Run for fun.
If people have these Autobots, don't people walk anymore. Yeah, Pat Buttram was in quite a few Disney films.
Yeah, he's got that very distinctive look and sound about him. I
Yeah,
love
I
the
mean,
yeah.
I'm a firm believer that anyone can voice anyone in animation, but if you're having me
Mm,
believe Pat Buttram can voice a sheriff who's supposed to be from Nottingham,
yes.
I draw the
Yeah,
line there.
a little bit different. Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely love the. How much has he had? That's the first one. He's just been stood there holding it.
He was stood there all night.
That is such a Doc thing to a so in character for him to, and then to drink the shot and forget what's in it is such a Doc
Mm-hmm.
Brain thing to do. It's such a brilliant bit of character.
Mm-hmm.
I love the I'm not I would say I'm not a huge fan of westerns overall. However, I do love the western aesthetic, and kind of the yeah, I guess the wheat fields and the open spaces and stuff. And this film gets a lot of mileage out of that as an aesthetic.
Definitely.
Like a bit of meta humor there as well. Why do we have to cut these things so
Hmm.
damn close?
Yeah, because at this point they are three films in. They're pretty self-aware,
Yeah.
everything, and yeah, and that's what makes it so funny. Yeah, there it is. Well, that looks disgusting.
Yeah, it really does.
We didn't have to drink that for real.
It's like when you're a kid and you make like weird concoctions out of stuff in the cupboard with your friends. I used to do that as a kid, and they'd just be absolutely minging.
Well, I know what he made him. He made him a Mo.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, fun fact, there's videos on YouTube where someone tried a flaming Mo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they pause at all the bottles that Homer's got out and they say, okay, seeing how we added
Yeah.
one of everything, we're going to add one of everything of all these bottles here, and we're going to add that vital ingredient, some cough syrup,
Oh God.
and they try lighting it on fire, but it doesn't catch fire. So, secret ingredient of it catching fire, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I saw on TikTok yesterday somebody tried to create the waffle that Homer makes in Homer the Heretic. Um,
Oh God,
and and
fattening.
he ate it, and it was just I was just like, oh my
Oh,
God, I can feel my heart like crying watching that video. Um, and then I looked on the guy's profile, and he'd done another TikTok where he created, I can't remember which episode it is, but that burger that Homer sees that is just like all these mad congealed ingredients together. I can't remember what
oh,
episode that is from. Um, but yeah, he
wouldn't
created that too.
surprise me if. Wonder if anyone's tried the 64 slices of American cheese.
Oh my God. That'll be the next thing that guy does. I'm betting it now.
I mean, if he turns up blind at the end of it, we'll be able to confirm that. I think I'm blind. But forfeit? What does that mean?
He can do it. Hey, you can't do that.
When he says, "What's that mean?" For some reason, I'm reminded of the Bat Superman fight when he first says Martha and Batman's like, "What's that mean?"
Yeah. Oh Christ. Why did you say that name? Actually, I'm kind of not surprised they needed Clint Eastwood's permission for this. To
Yeah,
everybody's
because
gonna
they say
say
he's the
Clint
biggest
Eastwood.
yellow belly in the West.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. The reminding him what comes after six.
Yeah. Do you know what? Absolutely brilliant acting from Michael J. Fox though. When it cuts back to him as Seamus, like the look on his face is brilliantly done. And at this point, because you built up such an emotional connection to him throughout these three, um, yeah, this it really does feel like it's all come to an emotional head.
Favorite.
Hey, it's a good thing he crashed into that furnace
Yep.
to get the bulletproof vest that he eventually gets. It's also a very good thing that he had faith that that would work, that that was thick enough steel.
Yeah, and also I mentioned it last time, but I like how it's foreshadowed in the new.
Yeah.
Uh,
The only thing I would say about this is I don't. it needs to be there and it works. But I think it kind of breaks up the pace of this final fight to keep cutting back to Clara on the train. That is the only thing I will say.
Yeah, it does.
It's not a huge deal, but yeah.
Yeah, I get why it's there. Yeah, it does basing it.
Mm. However, the image of Clara's purple outfit against the kind of stark browns and oranges of the rest of the palette of the West really stands out.
Yeah, it's so striking. It's great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, I think the only time that, let's say, Biff Tannen from 1955 and Doc Brown interact properly is the Back to the Future ride.
Yes, yeah.
That's the only time they properly interact. Which I understand got replaced by the Simpsons ride.
Yeah, I believe so. It's a shame that it's not there. So it wasn't there when I went in 2012.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're going to do the big emotional, well, the big high stakes confrontation at the end of the trilogy with Biff, and it has to be with a Tannen, there's kind of there's no better Tannen to do it with than the one who is actually going to shoot him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Doc's face when it happens is so good as well. You really get the kind of the anger.
He didn't aim for the head.
Yeah.
You should have gone for the head.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because it's quite a small surface area that with that bit of metal that he's got. So he's very lucky that didn't hit anywhere else.
Yep.
The Back to the Future theme variant as he smacks him across the head is it's so epic.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that scream is like the oh.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
It's so good. It's such a punch the air moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if he has to go back in the manure again, because why not?
Yep. Yeah, they just like making Tom Wilson suffer.
Yeah. I love Seamus's. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You're under arrest for robbing the Pine City stage. Not for, visibly...
Not for trying to kill someone.
Yeah.
Robbery. Mm-hmm.
I hate manure.
In fact, originally they were arrested for apparently murdering Marshall Strickland.
Yeah, yes.
But I can see why they cut it, because I reckon if they kill Marshall Strickland, the Strickland doesn't exist in the present day.
Yeah,
now.
It makes sense that they cut it, yeah. Yeah, when she comes running...
Yeah, I'd say out of all the three... I was just going to freeze the top fave climax, getting the DeLorean to work, because
yeah.
I'm a huge train nut, so...
Oh, yeah. it's quite funny. She comes running in and is instantly ready to believe Doc's story again when she finds the time machine thing. But for all she knows, he could be a raving lunatic
Oh yeah,
who
definitely.
just is like so delusional that he's created like the model and everything.
hmm It's funny, out of all the three films, this just feels like the most similar to Indiana Jones, which
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
ended the year before this came out. So
Mm. It's always fun as well. You can kind of see the stunt double as she's trying to
hmm
like really hold on to that horse because I think it goes a bit further than it's meant to.
yep. On World 2020.
Oh yeah,
Imagine.
they had it right. They had the right idea.
hmm
It's the most I think ingenious climax as well in terms of like most inventive climax of the sequels. Because
hmm
obviously part two is quite heavily reliant on the events of part one. So seeing this, seeing this do something very different. We're still trying to get to the end goal of getting the DeLorean up to 88 and everything. But yeah, it's a bit of a different. It's a
And the
change up,
funny
which
thing
is
is, I
good.
think Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd said this is their favorite out of the three.
Yeah, I can believe that. It's got the most for them to chew on, I
Mm-hmm.
think, as actors.
And I reckon, they're fully settled into their roles. They know what to expect from these films, so that's probably why they found it a comforting experience. Because with part two, Michael J. Fox had to learn how to ride a skateboard again.
Yeah, exactly.
And he blows the whistle and says, "I've wanted to do that my whole life." That's a line later repeated in The Polar Express,
It's gonna say yeah,
another
Polar
Zemeckis film.
Express. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, because as a kid, I was like, bloody hell, a lot of people have that on their bucket list. This is yeah, the visual signify. Sorry, every time I see Clara like flying off the back, it makes me laugh. Um, the visual thing of having the green, yellow, and red steam works really really well in terms of building up the danger of the climax, and also visually it's really interesting to watch and to look at, having the colors.
It is, yeah, it's terrific.
The Speaking of Christmas film connections with Mary Steenburgen, that the timer, the counting up, it reminds me a lot of the clausometer from Alf.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love that bit of score when they see each other as well, like the
Yeah.
do 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 do.
It's
That's so good.
brilliant, yeah. I mean, how can your heart not melt when
Mm.
they're on the hoverboard and they're floating off together? It's perfect.
I also love Marty's reaction. Oh, perfect. It's just like, for
Perfect.
fuck's sake.
But Danny was a train conductor as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
His coast there. Mhm. Yeah, again, I love all these climaxes. They just have you on the edge of your seat and get your heart
Yeah,
racing.
they
It's
really do.
perfect. Yeah.
And this one's great because it's so interesting that they drag this out for as long as they possibly can, and it still never lets up.
hmm
Like, it's the longest, climax. But yeah,
Yeah, I love how the DeLorean is practically doing a wheelie like a bike is.
yeah, I know, yeah.
hmm Yeah, I love that little detail. Like they've not used it at all in this film, but I like how it's
Mm,
still a holdover from part two.
yeah, absolutely.
Just a great way of bringing the whole trilogy full circle.
It's also genuinely like seeing her head nearly like get scraped along the train wheels. Yeah,
Yeah, I love the score here
Oh,
where
that's brilliant.
they float away on the hoverboard. Because
Oh,
even
visually, it's
without
so
the
good too.
without Marty appearing at the end, if that was the final appearance of sorry, not Marty, Doc, even without Doc appearing at the end, if that was the final appearance of him, then I'd be very
Yes.
satisfied.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Because he got the reasons for staying too.
hmm That's a cool model
Oh, it's
train, that.
brilliant. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch. And then the explosion, of course. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant effect.
hmm Yep. And I love how when the smoke and steam clears, we got to the same overhead shot of the
Yes.
completed bridge.
Oh, brilliantly done. Eastwood Ravine.
hmm And yeah, I think the in-universe reason of why it's called Eastwood Ravine is because, Doc was last seen going to the train. Obviously, he went back to the town with Clara. So, what's his explanation for where Clint Eastwood went?
Yeah, that's
Die
it.
in the train crash?
I guess so.
hmm And I like how bittersweet it is with the DeLorean being destroyed. That's almost as much a character as Doc and Marty.
Yeah.
When we see Doc come back, we're about to get the kid's weird hand gestures.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell
Yeah,
you what,
that's been a thing.
the common story I heard is that he was just like signaling to people that he needed the toilet or something.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, you'd think you'd just let him have a toilet break and then maybe do that scene again.
Yeah, that's it. He's so young as well. He's a really young kid. He's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Love how he instantly goes from "Hey Butthead" to the
Yeah.
cowardly Biff.
Nice to see Mark McClure and Wendy Jo Sperber back as well.
Yeah, even though it's just for this one scene, that's it.
And look at Jeffrey Wiseman in the back, very
hmm
obviously trying to keep hidden in the shadows and never take his sunglasses off, so that nobody
Yep.
looks too closely at him. Um,
hmm
Also, isn't me? Does the makeup look a bit shoddier on Biff there? It doesn't look as good as it did in
Yeah,
part
well, I
two.
suppose because, end of the film, he's only on
Yeah,
screen for a minute, so
yeah,
didn't
it
need to bother
definitely
that much.
definitely doesn't look as good as it did in part two.
Yeah. Blimey, it's this late in the film we're seeing Jennifer.
I know, yeah. this is great as well. This whole bit. I mean, Flea turns up again. This, but it's you can hear the Power of Love playing when he pulls it next to him. Again, nice little link back to part 1.
Yeah, but I like how it wraps up Marty's arc as well of, just, not letting people call him chicken get to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Changing the present to become a better person in the future. Also, you can hear the Power of Love being played on the radio.
Yeah, exactly. It brings it right back to part 1. And it's, because that's what you're saying, that's the whole message of the trilogy, isn't it? It's the future's whatever you make it, so make it a good one.
Also, Needles is played by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, isn't he?
Yeah, Flea turns up again. And again, it remembering the setup from part 2, it just works beautifully. Yeah. It's funny as well, that picture's been cut perfectly in half.
Can also picture 88 miles per hour.
Yeah. It's interesting how the rail crossings can detect the train coming as well.
Oh, they can detect anything.
Even through time.
Yep.
What do you think of the time travelling train? Because it's quite a controversial element of the films.
I like it. It's a nice wrap up.
Yeah, it's one of those things I can sort of roll with it because it's right at the end of the trilogy.
Yeah.
But part of me is a little bit like, he's, the amount of times he says he's going to destroy it because of the chaos it causes, and then obviously we see. But yeah.
And burn.
Yeah, they're young kids as well, so it's not like
Honestly, that kid playing Vern looks evil.
Yeah, he does. I wonder where he is now.
It does sound harsh, but he just looks like he's got a sinister look on his face.
He does. He looked like he could play Damien in The Omen or something. Yeah, I wonder where those two kids are now. And yeah, this quote is obviously quite iconic. Maybe the most iconic part of the film, actually. Future's whatever you make it and all that. It's, yeah.
There he is.
There he goes.
Gesturing to his crotch.
It's hilarious as well because it's in the most, like...
Now he seems to be looking off camera.
Yeah. In the most emotional quote, arguably, of the whole trilogy. The most, meaningful quote. It's funny as well. Where are you going? Back to the future? No, already been there. Well, you've been to one period of time in the future. You've not.
Yeah.
this you can't really write off the entire future because of one time period.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is a great final shot.
It is, yeah.
And then massive,
Yeah,
the
there's
end.
no to be continued, there's no to be concluded. That's the end.
Mm. As it should be.
And if Robert Zemeckis dies and they announce a Back to the Future Part 4, I think we know what the motive was.
Yep. And I honestly
Hmm.
think if that ever happens, I think the backlash to it will just be so aggressive that
Yeah.
it'll probably stop it in its tracks because, yeah, nobody wants a remake of it. Nobody wants a reboot.
Imagine they announced that Kathleen Kennedy's producing it.
Yeah.
How dare she touch the... Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because I think, the amount of times we've had like legacy sequels to things and remakes and reboots, and a lot of the time people are like, obviously there are always people who are dead against it, but a lot of the time people are also
Mm,
like, oh, you know what, yeah, fine, maybe there's a cool different take here. But I honestly think Back to the Future is the one franchise where everybody, no matter who you are, is in complete agreement that
yeah,
nothing
true.
should ever be
Hmm.
done. Like nothing, yeah, no, it should never ever be touched, and that is, I find that very
Hmm.
interesting. It is the one franchise where everyone just agrees to leave it there. Because why would you? And
Yeah.
like I say, if you want more, there's
Leave it
there's
there and highly...
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Isn't there that Telltale game of Back to the Future?
Yeah, there's the Telltale game, so it's sort of like, well, if you want more, you can play that, because it does continue
If you
on from where this ends.
technically want a remake, go see the stage version.
Go see the stage of it. Yeah, exactly. If you want more, there's enough to look for. I mean, it's not like the franchise has ever died either, because Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, pretty much since the third one came out, are always involved with it at fan conventions, and they've just launched a clothing line that they were really promoting, and obviously the game came out. Michael J. Fox reprised the role in Lego Dimensions when that was a thing. So it's never gone away, ever.
Yeah, you're gone in Austria. I mean, the first film is universally agreed to like be the best one. And there's
Yeah,
like friendly debate of like what's better, two or three, and you can see both sides. There's nothing
100%.
really that toxic about the Back to the Future franchise, unlike say something like Star Wars.
Not at all. It's a very friendly fan base, and I don't think. Okay, like you say, everyone agrees the first one's the best, but I don't think anyone hates the sequels either. I think there's a lovely little, like, everyone finds the sequels. It's always first one's the best, but the sequels are great fun. That's the the vibe I think everyone has.
Definitely, yeah, it's the vibe I get with them. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and like I say, it's just a miracle. It's amazing that the franchise has stayed, without any of the ancillary stuff. It is, it's just these three wonderful films, and they are timeless, and they will, you know, stand the test of time. I think you could show kids these now, and anyone these now, and they'd still hold up brilliantly.
Definitely, yeah, and 'cause, you think Back to the Future, you think, oh, it's a time travel film. That means it's very heavily sci-fi, and quite a few
Mm.
people are put off by that. But no, I'd recommend this to anyone. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are the ultimate crowd pleaser films. Like it's like I said, I said it in the first commentary, but um, I find it great fun watching people watch these films for the first time on YouTube, like reaction videos, because you see how invested they get with in the characters, and how funny they find the jokes, and it is really like, wow, yeah, these films are just so crowd pleasing. Anybody can watch them, and anyone can laugh and get all the emotional responses they want out of them, and they really are something special. And I
Hmm.
can't really think of anything else like them, and certainly, nothing else today that even comes close to them, and in terms of, you know, being this kind of family comedy, and um, yeah, They are one of a kind. They're absolutely one of a kind. And have you seen Tom
Yeah, exactly.
Wilson's? Yeah,
I was just gonna say, yeah, like, the idea of the live action family films, you don't really see those much anymore.
no,
Not
not
that
at
I can
all.
think of anyway.
And when you
Because like
do,
they're either
yeah,
summertime, it's either, a Marvel blockbuster or, an action film. But and
yeah,
when you think family films nowadays, it's mainly just animation.
mm.
But
It's a
yeah,
massive
I can't really
shame.
think of anything that's live action family friendly.
Well, so If has just come out, but it's bombed really massively. And it's like that's family film, massive cast. Steve Carell, John Krasinski directed it. Ryan Reynolds is in it. It should be doing well, but it isn't. And I find that I wonder if it's a streaming thing. People just like, oh, wait for that in streaming. But if that's the case, it's really
Yeah.
sad because yeah, it is.
And the
It's a damn
closest,
shame.
sadly, the closest live action things that I can think of are the Disney live action remakes, but I'm not
Yeah,
counting those because they're based off animation.
yeah, exactly. And most of them are shite. So
Yep.
apart from the Jungle Book, that was okay. That was pretty good.
There's three live action remakes that I can say are good. That's
Mm,
the 101 Dalmatians from the 90s, Cinderella, and the Jungle Book.
yeah, yeah,
Case closed.
yeah. Little Mermaid wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, that is the end of live action family films. Bye.
I was going to say that's a really bum note to end the commentary on, just lamenting the state of family films. And on that note, that's the end of our look at the Back to the Future trilogy. But we will be back with a new series of audio commentaries next time. So what are we going to be looking at?
Next time we are traveling back in time to ancient Rome
We are
for the
indeed.
Great Fire of Rome.
Woohoo, my boy. Yes, indeed, we
Oh
are.
yes, my boy.
Yes, we are
Hmm.
looking at Doctor Who and the Romans from season 2 of
Hmm.
Doctor Who way back in 1965. So look forward to that. That should be really good fun. In the meantime, you can go and subscribe to Isaac's channel and follow us all on social media. And there's not much more to say. Thank you very much, guys. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.